Hi. Okay, this is cool. I've never done a live before, so I thought, all right, I'm just going to go for it. So, at the end of last year, I created a video for members of the collective just sharing an update on my reflections from 2022. And I thought, hey, it's been a couple months. I have more ideas than would fit into an email or into the community group. So, let's get those 4 updates out. Essentially, we're going to be talking about, did you get a copy of the book we mailed you? For one, I haven't heard if you got it. Two, just finished recording the audiobook, so I've got a couple asks there. I haven't actually given you my formal opinion on ChatGPT and what we've been doing behind the scenes to experiment, so I'll be explaining those messy details in a moment. And I just want to share some thoughts on the focus group call we had last week because it was really amazing. It was incredible. Okay, so taking it from the top. Did you get your copy of this book? I'm thinking that the note we included must not have been sent with it, but here it is. Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. I bought 500 copies of this book, and for everyone that filled out the form, we were able to mail you a copy or send you a digital version. And I think about 300 people completed that form. So why did I mail you this book? Because it's kind of designed for people that are, I mean, it's obviously very targeted at the like an active entrepreneur, but I think the principles in the book work no matter where we are in our life. So here's kind of what I've sorted out. We all want more time to have a flexible career. We want to be with our family. We want to have hobbies. We need time for health. We just want some more spaciousness, and we're supposed to fit in all the chores that are life. And the reality is we cannot have it all, do it all without help. Everyone has help. It's the only way to get ahead. And so whatever that help needs to look like for you, that's essentially the premise of this book, which is how do we buy back some of your time? Now, I teach this more extensively in phase 6. So for those of you that are unlocking that content when you've made 35K in revenue, you'll see extensive workbooks and how I really break this material down, because I actually joined, it was the first online program I ever took was his program. I can't believe Alex and I got into it. He coaches software businesses. We kind of lied our way in, but you gotta do what you gotta do to learn about what we needed to learn about. So I just want to proffer that because I think we need to go find a grant writer to hire to build as a teammate, which we want you doing that. You're doing that in the collective. But maybe it's also just getting some help with someone doing your laundry or coming over to clean the house or clean your car or do grocery store running, and that's buying you time so that you can go work on the things that are actually billable, like writing that grant narrative or going and doing business development, etc. Right? So we want to think about all the different ways that you can buy back your time, because I'm telling you, this is like the definite hack. My latest version of this is I thought about preparing lunches for myself, and then I get too hungry and blood sugar drops and crash and this whole thing. So I started paying for 5 lunches a week, and it's been game changing. I didn't have time to make breakfast this morning, so I ate the split pizza. Okay, it was awesome. So anyway, I just want to know, did you get your copy of the book? So that's that. Okay, second thing I wanted to talk about was I just finished recording, it was quite a marathon, the audiobook of my book, How to Write a Grant, Become a Grant Writing Unicorn. You all know the book. Where is it? So this little fellow is now an audiobook. Woohoo! Well, not quite. It actually has a long ways to go because I don't know the exact steps to making it an audible audiobook, not like the hack job one we did for the first edition. So I'm going to need someone that would be willing to actually listen to it to catch mistakes, a little quality control check. And we will definitely do like a audiobook launch team like we did for the hardcover and the paperback. So I'll let you know, you'll get an email about that once I figured out what we're doing. But I'm very excited. It's a big deal. I don't think any of the other grant writing books that are available have an audiobook, so this will be fun. All right, it's been a goal for like 2 years. Oof, finally did it. Third thing, ChatGPT. Okay, so I'm going to give you the history of how we first started tinkering with this. My husband first told me about it in December because he had heard a radio, like an NPR radio pitch about it. And then it came up again and again, and finally I'm like, okay, what is this thing? So I create an account and start tinkering around. And I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting. And I had a meeting with this gal that has built software to help grant writers write grant applications faster, but it's struggled to really take off. And I thought, and she thought, well, what if we used ChatGPT to help grant writers write using AI? That would really help you write faster. And so we looked at very seriously at partnering, like really fleshing out what would it look like to kind of co-own and build a new software company that would be specifically for grant writers to get to have, like, basically use all of our grant narratives. So I have you all submit yours, successful applications that we could build a model that would learn from those applications. And then when it would build like its own basically like intelligence, obviously, and then that would help us write new applications. And so I was super fired up about that. And unfortunately, we just couldn't come into an agreement on what that partnership would look like. And I will say that I think part of that was, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Anyway, it was a real big bummer. And then at that point, I realized, okay, well, I can't like go charging into this by myself right now because we've got plenty going on just to serve you in the collective. So I decided, what's the less perfect version that still helps move forward developing expertise in this space? And what I arrived at, because I went out for a lovely winter here, Nordic ski, and I always come up with my best ideas when I'm skiing. But I had this idea, okay, what if we had a newsletter where we synthesized all of the information happening on a weekly basis around AI and distilled that for you? And frankly, it was really distilling it for me too, because I hate research, right? Literally, when I did this activity that he has in here, where you end up ranking and prioritizing, like, what do you enjoy and what are you good at versus the opposite of that, I realized I suck at research. So I thought, all right, if I could have this and then so I went to a developer, found someone new in Eastern Europe to basically, this is the best part, scrape the news that's happening on Google News for certain keywords, and then use ChatGPT to summarize that whole article. So I wouldn't have to read the whole article, I get the summary version of it. And got the first draft back, and guess what? It was a disaster. And it's partly because it was reading the whole article, like everything that you would see visible on a page, not just the actual copy of the article. Some of the summaries were such nonsense that you're like, this has nothing to do with this article. You pull up the article, look at the summary that ChatGPT had summarized, and you're like, this is so far off, it's not even funny. And so I share how messy this is because I definitely thought that I would just whip this up and in 2 weeks have it live and available for you. No, we're now like a month into this, and I was just communicating with the developer. I'm like, this is actually still a fair ways off from being a useful tool, right? So what does that mean in the big scheme of things? I think what it means is, okay, wait, back up. The other thing I wanted to share is all of a sudden I lost a little bit of momentum and steam to make this newsletter happen. And when I really looked at what was behind the reason for that, I observed it was fear. I was fearful that if I don't jump all in on ChatGPT and AI and its impact for grant writers and writing in general, I'm going to be left behind. Because, hey, I'm still young in my career. And how am I? We're known as the place for modern grant writers. If I'm not figuring this out, someone else will. Like, as if there's only one person that can figure this out. And just feeling like I'm gonna get left behind. We're all gonna get left behind. If we don't do this, we don't do it now, like, it's done. And it wasn't from an expansive place. I was definitely, I realized, leading into this idea from a place of fear. And I'm so thankful that I identified that, because fear is not actually sustainably motivating. As you can see, my motivation to solve this newsletter waned when it got hard, right? And I realized I was actually leading from a place of fear. So to reframe it, I've said, I don't care if this newsletter works or not. I am removing the pressure from myself. If it does, awesome. If it doesn't, great. I just want to learn. I'm not committed to a certain outcome. I don't need this to make money. And one of the things that I want you to take away from this is it's this concept of the field of predictability field of, I always mix these up, probability, and then field of potentiality. When we need something to work, when we squeeze the life out of it, I need to get this client. I need them to say yes. I need them so I can get my certificate, right? We actually make it really, really hard for amazing things to happen because we're clenching and we're leading from a place of fear. And so whenever you can spot that fear is the leading voice, it's so powerful because just even observing it's half the battle. And then we can find a way to reshift. So now I'm feeling much more expansive about this project. Obviously, I don't want to keep sinking thousands of dollars into this developer to not get this project off the ground, but I do think it's worth our time, and I'm going to do that work so that you don't have to, and I'll let you know what I find out as it unfolds. Eventually, I was thinking I would charge for this newsletter because it's obviously costing me a lot to figure it out, but we'll get there when we get there. I didn't want to take anyone's money until I felt a lot more confident about this. So what does that mean? The reality is ChatGPT, AI, any of the other competitors of what will emerge outside of ChatGPT are going to make a huge impact on our lives as writers. And I think many of us think, I've looked at this, it can't beat me, it can't beat my storytelling. Well, the reality is the number of data points that ChatGPT 3 is using versus what the eventual ChatGPT 4 is using is astronomically different, and it will get better and better. Can you imagine 30 years ago thinking, I can't live my life without my phone in my hand? No, right? That would have been inconceivable at that time. And the same thing is going to happen here. Like AI will start integrating into our lives. It already is. And then we'd be like, how do we live without it? That's crazy. Things are so hard. You have to come up with all your own writing. The first time, if you had to stare at a blank piece of paper, I mean, really, we will shift how we think about it. But I think what I want to proffer to you is if you're feeling this blend of like, I'm kind of hopeful, but I'm also a little bit scared, those are all totally normal beliefs and ways to react to this unknown territory that we're stepping into. But I think if you can just step back and recognize, like, you don't have to be the first one out the gate. I will go check things out. I'll report back. Let's all experiment, but not let fear and basically fear get in the way. So that's all I want to say on that topic, but I would love to know what else you're thinking so that we can keep unpacking it further, and I'll let you know what happens with this newsletter. Oh my gosh. Okay, final point I wanted to share with you. Last week we had a focus group. There were like 50 of you that showed up. It was so cool to ask about what happens if you feel like you fell off the wagon and needed to recommit and re-engage to the goals that you set out for when you committed to joining the collective, and what helps, what doesn't help, how do you actually get the work done. And I have to tell you that was one of the most amazing moments of my entire career, that phone call, because everything felt so safe and secure. Like in those environments, just like our coaching calls, I actually feel like I can be the most truest version of myself. And I think it's coming out in all of you as well. Like even for the conversation around, those finding, hey, I have ADHD and I'm really struggling to learn the content in the way that it's been structured. And I'm thinking, oh, what an amazing insight. Okay, let's figure out how we can shift the way you're learning so it works for you, right? So I just appreciated everyone's vulnerability. There were a lot of quiet voices, people I don't usually hear pipe up, that shared their thoughts. I really appreciated that. And many of you emailed us feedback afterwards, which has been incredible. So thank you. Thank you for giving us feedback. It's going to feed into what we do with National Unicorn Day and making the program better, of course. And so it was just amazing. I loved it. I loved it. It was absolute magic. And then I didn't make it to the 90 days to certificate call that happened a couple hours later, but I heard that was absolute fire as well. So, all the good stuff. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this up because tonight I am giving an Arctic entry story, which if you've heard The Moth on NPR, it's like that with the Alaska version, where you have 7 minutes to tell a true story. And last night I decided to change my story a little bit, and now I'm kind of freaking out because I need to go make sure I can say it in 7 minutes. So that's that. Y'all are the best, and that's it. Let me know what you think. I'll post this in the community group so you can see it there as well.